What is going on, you guys? So, it's about time to do a Q&A. So, I've got quite a few questions on the build in some of the comments, and I figured it's about time I got around to answering some of them. As always, the number one question I get asked all the time is, why did you put an LS in it? Made an entire video addressing that. Check it out. That's all I'm gonna say on that one. One of the questions was, what transmission do I plan on running on the car? Well, for right now, I have got the T56 out of my GTO. I'm not sure if I'm gonna run that transmission or not. I don't want to be honest. Don't get me wrong, it's a good transmission and it's treated me well in the past, but I really want to put a 4-speed G-Force GSR dog box in it. But they're pretty expensive. They're about $6 grand. The only reason that one's still sitting under the shelf there and not in the car is because I'm probably going to wait until one of the very last things I do is put the transmission in. Because I do have to get a custom drive shaft made for this regardless of what I get. So say I put that in right now and then I get a drive shaft made for it, and then down the road, somehow I can afford to buy that transmission that I wanted. Well, then I got to build new brackets and build another drive shaft. And I'll basically be sitting on a $800 paperweight drive shaft that, I'm not going to be able to resell. How many people have an LS swapped Mustang with, the motor mounts that I built, putting it in the exact spot for that exact length drive shaft? One, me. That's why that hasn't been installed yet. So, but that is what I have for now, and, my plans for what kind of transmission I'm going to put in the car. And on the topic of transmission and driveline related stuff, one of the questions was, what differential am I putting in it? So, back under here, my spare parts storage, I have the diff. This is actually the factory diff out of the Mustang, the 8.8, and that's what's going back in the car. Ford 8.8 is actually a really good differential, and it's a super common differential swap for a lot of cars. Now, I could do something like a winter's quick change if I wanted to, but they're super heavy. You do get a lot of, well, I'm not going to say a lot, but there is a pretty significant power loss through them due to the amount of drag on them through so many rotating parts, and they're pretty expensive too. So I don't feel like I'd ever have a need to have a quick change in this car right now, or in any, foreseeable future of it at least. So I'm just going to put the Ford 8.8 back in it. Now, as for what differential is actually going to go in the housing, I'm probably just going to put a spool in it. That's what I had in my GTO. It's what I had in the RX-7. I'm super familiar with the feel of a spool, so I think I'm just going to put a spool in this. Maybe I'll even give the stock differential a shot. I mean, they clearly spin the tires enough to shift the cars in the crowds, so maybe I can make use of that. More than likely, I'm going to put a spool in it. Another question was, is the car street legal? Absolutely not. Again, I live in Michigan, so if you have a title and you can register a car, you can pretty much drive anything on the street in Michigan. Actually, street drove my GTO for a couple of years after it was like full-blown drift car, and eventually it got to a point where it just like wasn't even worth it. The headaches of dealing with cops, and it's just it gets so much attention, and it's never, well, sometimes it's good attention. 9 times out of 10 it's not the kind of attention you want though, so it's really not even worth the hassle to street drive something like this. I mean, I'm sure there's some people out there that would just love to street drive something like this, but by the time it's done and basically everything on the car is solid mounted, and they ride like shit on the street. The only aspect of driving this on the street would be just to show off pretty much. And drifting does enough of that for me, so I don't really have any need to worry about making this street legal or driving it on the street at all, really. Another question totally unrelated to the Mustang was, whatever happened to the GTO? The GTO chassis is sitting out in Tuner Tools shop in Columbus, Ohio right now. And I actually need to either go pick it up or send the title out to them so it can go to the scrapyard. I'd love to fix it. It needs to get the strut towers pulled. It needs basically new coilovers for it, front, rear subframes. I parted all that out. Engine, trans, so it's stripped down to the point where basically it's just a cage shell, and I have almost no use for it, and I don't want to put the money into fixing it, to be honest. I'm over it. How much horsepower do we plan on making? Probably somewhere around the 4-digit mark. I'd like to see 1,000 just to jiggle my weenie around a little bit and say I made 1,000 horsepower. But while we're driving it, we're probably just gonna run it like on gate pressure, which should still be around 750 to 800 wheel. I mean, it's got a big turbo. You might as well use it, right? And my favorite question is, Shane, when do you think it's gonna be done? I wish I knew the answer to that. Oh, God, is this how Rob Dahm feels about his 4-rotor? Fuck. Anyways, that's going to be it for this one. Just thought I'd do a little Q&A for you guys. I'm going to get back to work. I got some stuff I need to get done on this thing today. Maybe I'll do a video on it. We'll see. But that's it. So like the video if you liked it. Maybe I'll do more of these Q&As more often. Subscribe to the channel and follow the build along. And I will catch you guys later.